Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us for today's webinar with Bob Clements, brought to you courtesy of Yanmar Equipment. I'm Michael Ellis. I'm the publisher of Rural Lifestyle Dealer Magazine. And today, Bob is going to be sharing some insights and strategies for compensating employees to increase performance and profitability. Every dealership today understands the importance of keeping good employees, but many struggle with how to compensate them in a way that works both for the dealership and the employees. Now, before I turn everything over to Bob, I've got a couple of housekeeping items. On your screen, you'll notice a white arrow and an orange box. You can click on that arrow and choose question to open up a question field, and that's going to allow you to submit a question at any time during the presentation. Time permitting, we're going to look to answer as many questions as possible at the end of the presentation. But rest assured, if we don't get to all of them, we're going to send the rest of those home with Bob, and he can answer them at his leisure, and then we'll put those answers up on our website along with an archived video replay of the webinar, so you can go back and review it as you like. If for any reason during the presentation your internet connection or our connection might happen to fail, and it looks like the webinar has been interrupted, just go back to the email you received earlier telling you how to join, and you can just re-enter that way. With that, we're ready to roll. Thanks again for joining us. We're going to turn everything over to Bob now. Good morning, Bob.
Well, great. Thanks, Michael. I'm as we were talking before this is one of those webinars. I enjoy doing webinars and touching all the dealers that subscribe to the magazine, and appreciate all you folks do at Rural Lifestyle to support the industry and what you're doing. As you said, Michael, this is one of those topics that we have almost 4,000 dealers we work with, and this is probably one of the most often requested. Help us, Bob, and Bob's team understand how do we pay people properly. And so I was excited as Lynn was talking about this, and I thought this is going to be a great webinar. As Michael said, we are going to keep it open for questions at the end. I think Michael said there's 10 or 12 that are already out there. And as Michael said also, this is one of those, there's a lot of complexity to compensation. And so if you do have other questions that we don't get to, please feel free to either connect with Rural Lifestyle and they'll get the questions to me, or you can connect directly with our office, just with Sarah at bobclements.com, and we'll have that information out also. At the end of the webinar, we always do these with a worksheet. So understand in a dealership, my life is in dealerships, and not everybody can be on these that want to be on them. And so we always do have these. These are recorded. You'll get a link to that. And we always have a worksheet that goes along with it. So if you have managers that you'd like to have go through this, there's a worksheet that'll be along with it. As I told Michael before we started, we also have an outline of the different pay scales for all the different positions in dealerships. It's based around the Midwest. So if you're on the East Coast or West Coast, you might have to make some adjustments to it. But we're also going to include that with it to at least give you an idea of, what would a B-level tech be paid, or a service writer, service advisor, counterparts person, part support person, and things like that. So we want to try to give you as many tools as we can as we go through this, because again, it's critical. I'm a real fanatic, and if you guys have been following me for a while, I am passionate about finding good people and keeping good people. I'm just a firm believer that the success in any business, my business included, doesn't have as much to do with me as it does with the people that I employ and that work with me, that work with my dealers. And so to me, it's really critical to do a good job hiring, but then making sure that you're keeping those people, because good people are hard to find and not hard to keep if they're treated right. So as we kind of go through that, I want us to understand that I think one of the most important things, and I had a webcast I did this morning with a dealership group over in Illinois, 4 stores, and we were talking about this very thing. And the conversation I was having is understanding that why people do business with them. And it's an AGCO dealership. It happened to be AGCO and Kubota, and we were talking about that, and they were going like, well, people do business with us because of the manufacturers. And I go, well, that's not really the case. I said the reality of dealerships today is, well, both products are great products, and both manufacturers are great manufacturers. All the manufacturers today, Yanmar included, their sponsors, they make great products. I mean, it's not like it was 20 or 30 years ago. Everybody does a good job today in manufacturing great products. The challenge we have in dealerships is that it's pretty easy to find it. So if you're a Yanmar dealer, there's other Yanmar dealers around you, or if you're a Kubota dealer or a Mahindra dealer or an AGCO dealer or a CNH dealer. It doesn't make any difference what you are. There's lots of other people around you that have the exact same thing that you have. And in many cases, they're willing to sell it for less than what you are wanting to sell it for. So we have to understand that your product no longer today gives you a competitive advantage. If you have a product that you sell, chances are within a 30 or 40 mile radius of you, a manufacturer will have another dealer that basically sells the same thing that you do. And so we have to understand that if we're going to be competitive in a dealership today, it's not so much about the product. And again, I'm not saying that product's not important. I'm just telling you that once a person's decided to buy a brand, then what they're looking for is not the brand anymore. They've already made a decision to buy the brand. They're looking at, who do I buy it from? And that, in my mind, if we're going to be successful today in dealerships, really evolves not around the products or the services you sell, but understanding that people buy people. The one unique advantage that you have in your dealership is not the product that you sell, it's the people that you employ. And I think we miss that many times in business because, and I don't blame the manufacturers, I mean, they all believe in their heart and soul that what they make is superior to everybody else's products. I get that. They have to believe that or they wouldn't be manufacturers. But I come from a realistic standpoint saying, hey, look, right, a certain model of tractor, regardless who makes it, is the exact same thing as that same model in another dealership. The only thing that really separates us, the only thing that really makes a difference in the average customer's mind is the people and the dealership itself. And a dealership is just a thing. So a dealership is nothing more than an S corporation or an LLC or a C corp or something like that. It's just a thing. What makes a dealership alive is the people in it. It's not the brand name on the outside of it, but it's the people in it. So I tell my dealers, what we have to understand is your people are what give you a competitive advantage. And so if we're going to be really successful, and your people give you the ability to even get better margins on things. We understand that, 60% of the people out there will spend more money to do business with you if their perception is you as a dealership are worth more money. 15% are price buyers, 25% are loyal, but 60% of all the people that do business with you will spend more to do business with you if you can show them that you're worth more. And we do that with our people. So understanding that our people are critical. I tell people again, I can't stress enough how important it is to find good people, hire good people, and pay good people well. I want people in the dealerships to make really good money because then they're not going to want to leave. I tell people again, and I have people all the time say, hey, we need you to teach our people about customer satisfaction and things. And I tell people, your people, happy, motivated employees create happy, loyal customers. So if you're having customer service issues, it's not because your people don't understand how important customers are. They all get that. They all know that customers are the important part of it, but your employees don't feel like you care about them. And if your employees feel like you don't care about them, they're going to literally take that same attitude and they're going to give it to your customers. The biggest challenge that dealerships have when they have customer service issues, it's not because their employees need training. Your employees get it. But all they're doing is being a mere reflection of how they see you treating them, and so they treat your customers the same way. I find dealerships where the owners really treat the employees not with kid gloves, right? But they're motivated and they work with them and they communicate with them and they're paid well based upon performance. I don't find that these companies, these dealerships, have a lot of customer service issues because their employees pass on that reflection that manager does. The managers feel good about the employees and the employees pass that right on through to the customers. So I always laugh when people say, we need to train our people about customer service. Your people get customer service, right? That's not the problem. Look in the mirror. The challenge that your customer service is about is your people's attitude toward how you treat them. If you don't treat them well, they're not going to treat your customers well. That's just the reality of business. So our goal again then is to say, how do we create these happy, motivated employees? Because ultimately we all understand that what we want are loyal customers, not satisfied customers, loyal customers, people who are passionate about the dealership, people who will tell other people about the dealership. And that happens, in my mind, with happy, motivated, excited employees, right? The other thing that I find out is motivated employees will always outperform satisfied employees. When we think about people, And I have a dealership, Jeff Blackton, who's one of my advisors. We were on a webcast last night with a dealer down in Mobile, Alabama, and we were talking about this. They had an employee, the service tech that left, and we all understand how difficult it is to find service techs, but the service tech left, and through this process, the service techs that are there now are more motivated and excited. And what happened in my mind is we had a tech that had been there a lot of years that ended up leaving, who was probably satisfied, looking for something else to do. I don't know why they left, any number of reasons. But what happened with that person going out of the system, the people that were in the system now are more motivated. So it told me that that person was just kind of an average performing person. Motivated people will produce more. You give me 2 highly motivated service techs, and I can outwork a shop with 3 or 4 average satisfied service techs. You give me a couple of really motivated parts counter people, and they can outwork 3 or 4 satisfied parts counter people. Same thing with salespeople. I always find it interesting. There's a lot of people that just are average or satisfied. I don't want satisfied people in my business. I want people who are motivated, passionate, and excited. And you have to work as owners and managers to find those people. That's what you're searching for. That's your primary objective in your job, is to find those people, get them in there, and keep them. You keep adding bodies to your dealership, and what you have is a lot of people that are satisfied working there, and they're there for a check. And granted, we're all there for a check. But I tell people again, but what we want to do is we want to find those people that are motivated, passionate, and excited about the dealership. You can find them. Are they hard to find? Sure, they're hard to find. But once you find them, you'll find that it's a huge difference. You take one motivated employee, he'll replace a couple of satisfied employees. Your customers will have a better experience. People that work around them will have a better experience. So that's really what we're trying to do here. We're trying to take people, and some of your people are just waiting to be motivated by you. So just don't kick everybody out. All I'm saying is that part of your job as an owner or a manager in your department, you're working to motivate your people. And if your people aren't motivated and you can't motivate them, then maybe it's time to move them on and replace them with somebody else. There are people out there that can do what your people are doing. So understand that motivated employees always outperform satisfied employees. When we look at compensation, and I have dealerships send me their compensation programs, and I had one here a few months back that had a compensation program for their service department that I swear Einstein himself could not have figured out. It was so complex, right, and things like that. So there are times when we're putting together programs that we make mistakes in them. Complexity is one, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but I think one of the biggest ones I see is that most compensation in most businesses and dealerships is based upon what I call a door prize. It's just simply the person that walks through the door the most times basically gets paid more money. And I think it's totally against everything that we're trying to do in a dealership, because it doesn't make any difference how many years you've been in a dealership. I don't care if I've had an employee at the dealership for 20 years, if all the employees done for 20 years is their job, and they just come in, they do their job, and they're satisfied, right? And they're not doing any more than what they did last year or the year before, but they keep walking through the door, and you keep feeling obligated in some way as an owner or manager to pay them more money. That's a problem, because what you're doing is giving them a door prize. Just because you keep walking through the door and you don't really cause any problems, right, and you're satisfied, and you go home at 5 and you come in at 8, and you do that every day, day in and day out, I don't mind that you're there, but I find it hard to understand why every year we feel obligated as owners and managers to pay people more money who are basically doing what they did the year before, not bringing any additional value to you, not doing anything new or exciting to help you move forward. They just show up, they do their job, and they leave. And there's nothing wrong with that. We need people like that, but I have a hard time understanding why we keep paying them more when they're basically delivering the same thing that they did the year before, and then the year before that, and the year before that. So I think what we have to do is understand that part of what we have to do is, and I have nothing against cost of living raises and things like this, but I'm just saying there's so many times that I'm in a shop and I see a guy making 20 bucks an hour that's maybe turning out 6 hours of billable time. And I got another technician over there that's only maybe been there 5 or 6 years that is a hot dog, that they're great at what they do, they're passionate about what they do, and they're sitting there making 14 bucks an hour, and they're billing out 8 or 9 hours a day, right? And so I got a guy that's doing less work, that's performing at a lower level, that's getting paid more because of a door prize, than a guy that's actually producing more revenue for the dealership. And when you talk to the managers, you go, well, that's how we set our compensation up. You know, if you're here this long, this is what you get. If you're here this long, this is what you get. I tell people again, it has nothing to do with performance. And what happens in most cases is you have somebody that's highly motivated, that's in there, that's working their butt off, that's producing a lot for you, and ultimately they're getting paid less than somebody that's a dogging it, right? And pretty soon it becomes demotivating for them. And now I've got a person that was motivated, but because of the way your compensation structure is set up, it's based upon some door prize that you arbitrarily created, right? Now I've got a motivated employee that starts becoming demotivated. And it's all because your compensation program was wrong. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't pay the other guy 20 bucks an hour, although if you're paying him 20 bucks an hour and he's only billing out 50% of his time, then that's a conversation you need to have anyway. What I'm saying is don't penalize your high performing people because they haven't walked through the door as many times as somebody else. Your compensation needs to be based upon some level of performance, right? And so don't take a guy that's only been there 5 years that you say, well, based upon our program, he's only available to make 15 bucks an hour. I think that's insane, right? If he's doing more work and better work and more production than a guy you're paying $20 an hour for, then move this guy up to 20 bucks an hour, at least get him up there. He's going to stay motivated. Your problem is not with this guy. The problem is you continue to pay somebody because of a door prize more and more money, and their production became less and less. And I see that happen in parts counters. I see that happen in sales departments. I see it happen in rental departments. So you got to understand that. We don't get door prizes in business, right? If you come in day after day and you're adding value to my dealership day after day and you're adding value to the customers day after day, you're worth more money to me. But if you just come in and do basically the same thing this year you did last year, I'm going to find it hard to give you more money. Not that I don't care about you, but again, I've got to pay for performance. And we'll talk about how to do that a little bit later on. The other thing we have to understand is hourly and salary compensation establishes a baseline for keeping a job, but it has very little to do with an individual's performance. And again, I understand that we pay by the hour, we pay base salaries and things like that. But keep in mind, in most cases, you're giving people raises just because you feel like you need to give them a raise. Well, that's a bad reason to give somebody a raise, right? You want to make sure that you're paying from a baseline standpoint, but also make sure that what you're trying to do here is to make sure that as you're performing better, as you're delivering better customer service, customer satisfaction, there's opportunities for you to gain more money from that. So I want you to understand that while hourly and salary compensation is a baseline, I'm just going to tell you, it does very, very little to drive a person's actual performance. If you give somebody an extra $2 an hour and you think that they're going to perform better for you just because you gave them $2 an hour, you are sadly mistaken. I can't tell you, and I've done this myself before, guilty as charged. I thought, well, the guy says, well, if you just paid me more, I would work harder. You know, and so when I was brand new in business, I was stupid. I didn't know any better. I says, okay, well, I'll just pay you more money. And you know what? They worked harder for about, 30 days. And then after 30 days, they were back doing what they were doing before. The challenge is I've added $2 more per hour to their salary, right? And so I got 30 days of performance, and all of a sudden I'm back to the way it was before. And you know how hard it is to take money back from somebody once you give it to them? So again, it was a mistake that I used to make when I was younger. I don't do that anymore. I tell people again, right, if you want to make more money, then you first must show me that you are worth more money. And when you show me you're worth more money and you consistently stay there, then I will pay you more money. I grew up on a farm. Having an employee walk up to you and say, you know, if you'll pay me more, then I'll work harder, would be like a farmer standing out in the middle of a field, looking up to God and say, God, if you give me a good crop this year, next year I'll plant seed in the ground. Okay, that's insane. That's just not how it works. You plant the seed in the ground, you take care of the seed, you water it, you hoe it, you weed it, and you harvest it, and interesting enough, you have a good crop. That's the way it works in nature. That's the way it works in business. You don't get more because you tell me, if you give me more, I'll work harder. You plant the crop, you plant the seeds, you take care of it, you show me that you're committed to it, and I'll make sure at the end of it, you're taken care of. So I want you to understand that. We have to look at salary and compensation that way. And I know a lot of you are shaking your heads up and down going, yeah, Bob, I know. I gave somebody more money because they told me if I gave them more money, they would work harder in the shop. If I gave them more money, they would do better in the parts department. If I paid them more, they would make more sales. And it never, ever works out that way. So understand that we're going to create a program so that if you do well, if you produce more, then you get to make more. And what's the limit on it? There is no limit. And we'll talk about that a little bit later too, because there's a mistake that I see some people putting caps on things. Once you make this much, you can't make more than this person, or you can't make more than the owner. I want my people to make more than me. They'll never make more than me because I control all the pay. All I'm saying is I want them to do really well, because if they're doing really well, I'm going to do great. And that's the attitude I always have with employees. And then the other thing we have to understand is a mistake is high performance employees will ultimately leave a position where a lower performing employee is paid equally to them. And again, I just see this happen over and over. Why did that really good tech leave? I don't know. They were frustrated. Well, they were frustrated because they're working their butts off, right? They're producing you revenue, and you got some slag back in the shop, or you got some dunce back behind the parts counter that's back there that's just doing it. They're on the parts counter, quote unquote, on the internet looking up stuff. No, they're not, right? They're screwing around. They're screwing time off. Your high performing people are out there working their butts off, and they got somebody over there that's dragging it, and you pay them the same amount or near the same amount. Are you kidding me? Every high-performing employee is going to go, well, this is stupid. I might as well go find some place where I can work where they actually appreciate what I do. And so you may have to understand that. Your good people will not stay around in a bad situation. And ultimately what you end up in the dealership is all your good people leave, and then you end up with all of the medium or the weak people, and you can't make your business work with that type of an employee. And so again, so you've got to understand that when high performance people leave, they're leaving because there's some inequity there that they feel that's not right. And they can go find other jobs. So your bad employees can't find other work, so you're going to own them forever. So you got to work hard on making sure that your employees are compensated based upon some level of performance they're doing. And I don't care if I've got a person that's only been here a couple of years. If I got a parts person that's only been with me 2 years, and they're killing it in the parts department, and they're upselling and they're cross-selling and they're making their sales grow. And if they've only been there 2 years, but they're doing more than somebody that's been there 6 or 7 or 8 years, I'm going to move their hourly up to at least be equal to that person, right? Or I'm probably going to try to get rid of the other person and see if they've got a buddy or a friend that will be willing to come and work behind the parts counter for me. So I just want you to understand that. We get frustrated sometimes when people leave, but good people leave because in their mind, they're being taken advantage of. They're not being appreciated for what they do. And good people never, ever find it hard to find another job someplace else that will pay them more money. So keep that in mind. If you end up with just a lot of average producing people, it wasn't because you didn't have some high performance people, but in many cases they left you, moved on someplace else to where they would be appreciated. Then the other piece is, and I talked about this kind of in the beginning, bonus programs have to be simple to both understand for the employee and based upon specific things they can control. The bonus program I saw this one dealer had for their service department, I swear Albert Einstein could not have figured it out. There was a spreadsheet. It must have had 7 different columns that had different variations in it. There was absolutely zero way a service technician could have figured out what their bonus was going to be. It couldn't happen. There were way too many variables in it. Some of the things they didn't even control. And so I tell people again, if you're going to do a bonus, it's got to be simple enough so that you could have a 10-year-old have it explained to them so that it makes sense. And it has to be on things that they can control. You know, if you're bonusing a service tech on recovery rate, a service tech has zero ability to manage the recovery rate of a shop. They can manage their own time on a work order, but if there's not work coming in, or if the work that's coming in is not being priced out properly because the service manager, service writer is not doing what they should be doing, right? You can't hold the service tech accountable for the recovery rate of the total shop. And I see guys that are building compensation programs that a part of it is based upon total shop recovery. You're penalizing a technician for something they have zero control over. And so you've got to make sure that when you build the program, everything in the program is simple to understand, and it's all controlled by the person who has the ability to earn that bonus. Because if it's out of their control, pretty soon it just becomes an irritant to them. You know, if you promise them these big bonuses, but they never have the ability to earn them, you're better off to have never created a compensation or a bonus program for them. You've got to make it not only to where it's achievable, right, but it's achievable on a regular, consistent basis. Doesn't mean they can achieve top bonus all the time, but they have to be able to hit it periodically. That's the thing that drives them toward it. It's that ring out there. It's got to be a little hard for them to reach, but they every once in a while have to be able to reach it. If you set a bonus program up to where it's totally unrealistic that anybody will reach it. But you say, well, you got a bonus program, just work harder. Yeah, but the program is so complex and convoluted, I can't figure it out. And so therefore it becomes a demotivator rather than a motivator. So I just want you to understand that. Make sure that it's simple to understand and based upon specific things that they can control. So now what kind of performance pay programs are there? There's really just three. There's variations of these, but I'm going to give you the three basic programs that we use, kind of walk through them and explain how they work. So the three of them are individual, and then we have team, and then we have pool bonuses. So there's really three basic types of bonus programs, right? And I'm going to talk about where you use these and how you use them. Now, there could be variations or variants on this, and I've seen variations on it, but fundamentally, there are three basic programs that might be twisted or built in different ways. But we're going to talk about them and kind of how they would apply, and then how you might potentially utilize these in your dealership. So let's start off with the first one, which is individual bonuses. So individual bonuses are typically in our consulting company used for service techs and salespeople. So this is based upon an individual's performance. So again, it's not based upon the team being able to do something, because I see some shops do team bonuses. You know, if you got some guy back there that's dogging it, you're really treating the whole team unfairly. So a technician, the only thing they can control is their time on a work order. So if you give me 6 hours to change the clutch out in this tractor, I know I got 6 hours to do that, right? And if I get it done in 6 hours, I'm 100% efficient. If I get a 6 hour flat rated job done in 5 hours, then I know I'm about 120% efficient. So if I get it done in 6.5 hours, then I know I'm about 85% efficient. But I can control that. My tools, the tools that I invest in, the training that I go through, everything about me hitting a bonus, if it's individualized, I can control. So if I'm not at 100% on it, then it's something that maybe I could do to improve. I can learn how to do something better. I can attack it a little different the next time, but I can control that. Same thing in sales. So salespeople have individual bonuses in most cases, especially if they're outside sales. Inside sales, we tend to use team bonuses, but it's the same thing. So if I want to make more money in sales, then I simply have to touch more people. That's the kind of the cool thing about sales. Sales is all about activity. So if I want to make more, if you need me to make more sales, then I need to figure out, how do I touch more people? How do I talk to more people about our products, our services, about our dealership? So it's really up to me. There's not a lot you have to do from a management standpoint. It's an individual bonus. I get it. I control everything about it. So that's what makes it work for me. And then, you know, I may make more bonuses than somebody else. So you may have somebody making 20 bucks an hour, maybe I'm only making 18, but they're also getting $100 every 2-week bonus, and I'm getting a $700 bonus. That keeps me motivated. I don't care about the $3 an hour difference. I make my money on the bonuses, not on the hourly. So again, it really changes the attitude of people in there. In services, again, we bonus techs based upon their efficiency in meeting assigned times on work orders and the quality of their work. So, and then they're paid, we do in the service department, we do bonuses paid on closed work orders, and we do those every 2 weeks, and they're paid 2 weeks after they're earned, because in our bonus programs for service techs, again, if they have comebacks and things like this, that counts against them as a part of their bonus. So we have to have equipment out there long enough, and typically we find 2 weeks is plenty of time for that equipment. If it's going to fail, it will have failed, and if it was something that the technician did wrong to make that failure happen, then that would count against their bonuses at some point. But it's always based upon their efficiency in meeting assigned time. So again, service manager, service writer are the ones that come up with flat rate times on 85% of the work. On work that's not flat rated, then it's time and material, but then we use the technician's average efficiency on flat rates as a multiplier on time and material jobs, so they can still hit their bonuses even if they're doing complex jobs that we actually can't flat rate. And there's some jobs, as you all know, if you're service managers, there are some jobs that you just can't flat rate. But we do know what a technician's average efficiency is over a 2-week period, and then we always use that as a multiplier on time and material jobs, so that the technician is never penalized for doing the more complex work. But so that's how we do individual bonuses in the shop. So as an example, if the technician's efficiency in our process is over 85% is 85 to 100% over a 2-week period of time, they would receive a bonus based upon their billable hours. So as an example, let's say you have a technician, and over a 2-week period of time, over 80 hours of time, they build out 68 hours and 80 hours of time you paid them in our system. they would get a $2 per billable hour bonus on any efficiency that goes from 85 to 100%. So on 80 hours, 85% of that would be about 68 hours. So they would get about $136 bonus for that 2-week period of time. In our system, if they were 101 to 125% efficient over that same 2-week period of time, they would get a $4 bonus on those billable hours. And if they were 126% efficient or higher, they would get a $6 bonus. So using that as an example, so instead of it being an 85% and then maybe making $136, if they were at 126%, right? And they, in an 80-hour period of time, they would produce almost 100 billable hours of work. They would have a $600 bonus for that 2-week period of time, not a $136 bonus. So that's what starts to drive them. They start looking at time in a totally different way because they know every tenth of an hour they have, how they use that time ultimately is going to affect their efficiency. And I've got technicians out there that are consistently billing out 10, 11, 12, 13 hours every day, and they're sitting there and making $18,000 to $20,000 a year just in bonuses. And I'm telling you, they are passionate, committed people, and they put out good work. And we also have then a comeback or a redo problem. So if it's in ag equipment, if you have one comeback in a 2-week period of time, something that you did that you missed or you didn't do correctly, you lose 100% of your bonus. So we have a pretty stiff penalty for comebacks because I want my shop to produce quality work. But that's how it's done, and it's all in their control. There's nothing that a technician doesn't have through that process that they don't actually control themselves, and they're highly motivated. Our shops perform at such a high level not because we are masters at what we do. I figured out several years ago how to bonus technicians correctly, and they are passionate. People say not everybody's money motivated. I've never seen anybody yet walk away from a paycheck on payday. So they may not be overly money motivated, but they like what money can do for them. So that bonus program works great. In sales, we bonus outside salespeople based upon net profit per transactions they close. And again, that's paid on a monthly basis. I would say probably 80% of the dealerships we consult with have a base paid per week that they give their salespeople, and then they get 10% of the net. So that's the most common way to do it, and it's individualized. So each of the outside salespeople get that 10% on the work that they go out and generate and create themselves. So we pay outside salespeople on individual bonuses. Now, when it comes to inside, so if your people are not outside, but you're doing all the marketing, you're doing all the work to get people in your stores, and your salespeople are sitting there waiting for the doors to open and people come in, they're not paid on individual bonuses. We do that as a team bonus, and I'll explain that in just a second on why we do that. So team bonuses then are a little different. Team bonuses are typically used for counterpart salespeople, service writers, inside whole goods and rental salespeople, as well as managers for each department. And a team bonus, again, is not paid every 2 weeks. It's paid on a monthly basis. And again, it's typically paid 2 weeks after it's earned. So I'm not making accounting crazy trying to keep up with it. But again, what it is, it's like, and I'll use the parts counter as an example. When we're at the parts counter, I don't want each person individually getting a commission and individual bonus on sales they make, because I find at the parts counter, if I've got somebody that sees somebody walking in that knows it's a big parts customer and the phone's ringing, they'll ignore the phone because they want that sale on that customer coming in. I don't want that to happen at my parts counter. I want it to be a team experience, so it doesn't make any difference who sells it. All the bonus money flows into a team, right? And then it's divided out based upon each of the team members' participation or sales as a part of it. And typically, when I have a bonus, I set it up based upon increased sales this month compared to the same month last year. So as an example, in the parts department, we normally set the bonuses based upon increased sales this month compared to that same month last year. So in July, let's say, you had $60,000 of parts sales last year, and in July of this year, you had $70,000 worth of parts sales. So we had a $10,000 increase in parts sales. The bonus is paid on the $10,000, right? Not on the 70, because 10,000 is what our new growth is, and that happened because my team is working hard on cross-selling and upselling. We've got new sales from that, and then I also tie that to a certain margin level. So again, let's say, for instance, I expect my average gross profit margin in parts to be at 40. We'll use that as a nice simple number, right? So if you're at 40% and you had growth, then we take 40% of that growth that funnels into our team bonus for the parts department, and I would take 30% of that money, that new profit, So if we had a 40% gross profit margin and $10,000 increase in sales, there'd be $4,000 of profit. I would take 30% of that profit, which would be $1,200, and I would pay that back to my parts team in bonuses. I normally give my manager half, and if I had 2 parts people and a manager, so I would give, if there was $1,200 there, my manager would get $600 of that bonus because they're the manager and they work their butts off to do what they do. And my parts people, the other 2, would divide the other $600 amongst themselves, so they would each get $300. But we're functioning now as a team. If the margin went up, then on that $10,000, if it went to 45% as an average, then there would be $4,500 in bonuses instead of 4. And if it goes down, in most cases, just like in the service department, I don't allow a bonus to be paid on anything less than 85% because 85% is our profit point in the shop. But in the parts department, if it went to 30, right, we probably wouldn't pay a bonus on anything less than maybe 38%. So, because I tell people I can sell more parts if you don't care what margin I make on it. So I want to also maintain, there's a certain margin level we have to maintain to keep that bonus in place. But again, then everybody's working together, so it doesn't really make any difference who takes the call, who handles that big customer come in, who does what. We're all a team functioning together as a team. All of the increased sales go into this group, this team bonus, and from that then it's paid out equally. My manager always gets a bigger piece of it, and then my counterpart salespeople, what we divide out that's left, they get an equal amount of it. So there's not a certain percentage goes because Billy's been here longer than somebody else. It is shared equally among everybody. That's why we call it a team bonus. So that's how we do the team bonuses. Then our last one is what we call pool bonuses. And so a pool bonus is built out of holdbacks from each of the individual and the team bonuses. So understand that we have people in our dealership that don't have really anything to do directly with sales or generating revenue. So, we've got people in our business office that do billing, that handle reconciling warranties, that handle all the transactions that we create in service, parts, and sales. And so as we are taking this bonus money, I'm always, when we do bonus programs for dealerships, I'm looking at how many people are in our pool. So this would be anybody that doesn't directly have the ability to generate revenue, but support everybody in the dealership. So it would be maybe bookkeeping. You maybe have a young guy or gal that cleans up, sweeps, empty trash cans, dusts equipment in the showroom. Maybe some guy outside that's taking care of and managing your lot and mowing and things like this. So this is this group of people here that without them, nobody else can really do what they do. All right, they're my support team. And there's absolutely zero reason why they shouldn't be making more money too. And what I do is I take some holdback out of each one of the other bonuses. So before I give the other teams their bonus, I decide, am I going to do a 5 or maybe a 10% holdback? And so then I'm not paying out any more money to anybody, but I'm creating a pool. And then I pay that monthly to all the employees who do not have the ability to participate, neither the individual or team bonuses. And so that's what we use this money for. So so everybody then in the dealership wins when the departments do good, and not every department has to do good all at the same time. So I might have the service department may just be killing it, and the parts department may just be killing it. But let's use as an example July. A lot of my dealerships in July had a terrible whole goods month. June was strong, August is strong, but July for a lot of my dealers was just weak, and not for really any reason. The weather was decent, the economy is moving along good. Just for some reason, for a lot of my dealers, July was a mediocre whole goods month. June before it was strong, and August is coming out strong here. But so my pool bonuses, there may not be really much coming out of the sales department, but in those dealerships, the same ones that were struggling on the whole goods side of it, they were killing it in the parts and service side. So there's bigger bonuses over there being paid out. There's more money over there. So it doesn't really matter to the support people because it's not based upon any one. It's based upon 3, or if you're doing rental, 4 different ways for these bonuses to flow in there. And again, so they're excited, happy, do anything they can do to help every department in there, because the more money each of those departments produce that they help support, the bigger the pool is going to be for them at the end of the month, and then the more money they're going to make. So then they don't get upset because salespeople are making money, or counterpart salespeople are making money, or techs are getting bonuses back there. They're excited about it, because the bigger bonuses all these guys make, the more money that goes into their pool, and the bigger bonuses there will be. So it eliminates all of this kind of conflict that we have, because when you pay salespeople bonuses, I don't know why I should have to do this and take care of them. They get bonuses for them. Everybody gets a bonus. The guy outside taking care of the lot gets a bonus. The person inside just doing the sweeping and emptying trash cans, they get a bonus. Everybody wins when everybody wins. And that's really what you're trying to do there. That bonus low is divided, because that's the common question. Well, how do we figure out who's going to get what in that? I use the employee salaries in that bonus pool. So in the pool bonus, I take all the money that we're paying everybody in that, and then I simply divide out the salaries as a percentage. So in my example here, if the office manager's salary represents 30% of that group, now not all the employees, not the service techs and service managers and service writers and parts managers and parts people and salespeople, just in this group that are not having the opportunity to get bonuses from any place else. So I take that salary that I'm paying out, and then I divide their monthly pay as a part of that total group, and that tells me what percent of the bonus pool they get. So if my office manager's salary represented 30% of that group's total salary, they would get 30% of that bonus pool. And I find it works great, right? Because also what starts to happen, everybody that's in that bonus pool understands that the more you make, the more value become, the bigger part of that bonus you will get. So if you've got somebody out there that's working in a lot that says, well, I only get 10% of that pool, well, they could get more of that pool if they show you that they are more valuable and you start paying them more for that. So they can grow that up to maybe 15%, or who knows? I don't care. I hope they grow it up to 20%. Doesn't make any difference. And on the same token, if you got someone who doesn't care, that doesn't care about making more money, they still get something, but they're opening the door for other people to get more of that bonus. So those bonus pools work great. And ultimately what I have then is I got a dealership full of people whose total focus is helping that dealership make more money. And that's what you wanted to do. They're passionate, they're motivated, they're excited, right? Because everybody is sharing in what you're trying to do in it. And again, it's simple. It's easy and simple for them to do. So I'm going to wrap it up here just real quick, but I always like to tell all my dealerships and my people this. Everybody complains about capitalism. Capitalism is a phenomenal system. And we are blessed in the United States to have a capitalistic society, but I will tell you a truth about capitalism. It works its best when everybody gets to participate in it. Your job as an owner, your goal as a manager is you want to find good people and pay them well. You want your people to do really well. You want your people to be able to work at your dealership and have a really great life if they're performing. And again, so that's what I tell people again. I mean, my goal is to have, I want the highest paid people of any consulting company out there. I pay my people really well, but I got the finest team of people I've ever had. And I don't think there's any company out there that does consulting like I do. I will put my people against them all day long, and they will destroy them. I've got wonderful, passionate people who are passionate about helping dealers. I pay them well. I don't want any of them to go. It would break my heart if any of them left me. So, and I want you to look at it the same way. I want you to think in your dealership, it would break my heart if that person left me. I want that person here. I'm going to figure out a way to show that person that based upon their performance, they really have the unlimited ability to make as much money as they can possibly make here. So let's go ahead, Michael, and let's open it up for questions, and let's see if we can maybe answer some questions that's come up through this process.
Great. Yeah, we've had a number come in here. So let me just start right off. You touched a little bit on the sales commission and the 10% on the net. Is that kind of a standard that you see?
It is for us, Michael. I have done it 1,000 different ways, and I find net is the best way to do it, better than gross profit or gross sales, because with net profit, I have to take in equipment setup. I have to take anything that a salesperson, any accessory they might attach to it and do as a giveaway. That all reduces that net profit. So it makes the salesperson a little less apt to give away things, where if we're just doing it on the gross profit of the piece of equipment, it's a little easier for them to give away stuff that I don't really want them to give away. So I find that net works best. I've got dealers out there that do it based upon gross profit. But to me, net is a little cleaner way to do it, and I think it's painful then for the salesperson to give something away as it is for the owner to have them give it away.
Okay, and just as a tangent to that, do you ever see, or you mentioned that seen it done a million different ways. Do you see differences between the commissions paid on new versus used equipment?
No, most of ours do the same. So I would say most of our dealers do the same percentage, whether it's new or used. So you could do it both ways. I mean, typically on your used equipment, although I will say on some of the big ag used stuff, a lot of the dealers we're working with have a lot of used inventory, big stuff. And you might have to even tighten the commission down on that, because some of the stuff you're just trying to get rid of to free your cash back up. So, and that's some conversations that you need to have with salespeople. But again, most of my dealers pay the same whether it's new or used on it. Because again, if you've got a used piece that Michael, if you took a used piece in and you took it on as a really good trade and it's good and valuable, your profitability on it's just going to be higher. So, so you still get 10% of the net. It's just, if you picked up an extra $2,000 because you did a good smart trade, you as a salesperson automatically get an extra $200 just because you were a smart salesperson and did a good trade.
Fair enough. Here's one. Say you've got a dealership where you've got these happy, motivated employees creating happy, loyal customers, but management thinks that because they've got that solid working relationship, they're in position to pay a little bit less than the dealership down the road. What do you think of that?
Well, I would say, again, if there's anything that I've seen, and I've been doing this for a lot of years, 32 years, the thing we have to understand is people are loyal to people. And I will tell you, in any number of cases, I've seen really good salespeople leave, and the dealerships think, well, that person buys from us, and they end up taking 40 to 50% of their customers with them to another dealership. I see that happen in shops a lot, where I have a really good technician that I got from another dealership because they weren't taking care of that technician, and it literally scores of customers follow that service tech over to my new dealership. So I would just say that's a cautious thing I would be concerned about. A company is just a cold, hard thing. It's the people in the company that make the company have life. I'm just adamant that you take care of your people, pay your people well, and your customers will be rewarded for it, and your people will stay. So I've seen it happen a lot of times in my life in this business, Michael, and again, I'm the same way. I tend to buy from people, and if that person leaves and goes someplace else, I'm not as brand loyal as I am people loyal. And so I would say I would be cautious about assuming that people do business with your dealership because of your dealership. I think your dealership is just an entity. It's a legal thing. It's the people inside of your dealership that give it life. And when one of those people leave, that's an important person that your customers really like, they will take customers with them. They would, and it'll be your better customers. You will end up with the ones they didn't want, not the ones that they did. I just will tell you that. So
great. I think this speaks a little bit to the pool bonuses that you were talking about, but it's kind of a higher level question as well. How do you reward employees who are doing well, yet not create friction between them and those that maybe are not doing as well? I think this speaks to both the compensation end of it as well as kind of the people management.
Well, because that could actually happen with team bonuses as well as pool bonuses, Michael. So let's start it off with the team bonus. So let's say we have, and I didn't talk about this in the webinar, but we also do team bonuses for inside salespeople. So we don't let an inside salesperson, they're not just on that customer, because if they don't happen to be there and that customer comes back in, and they were a walk-in customer beginning, I want any salesperson to take that customer and take care of them. So our inside salespeople are also bonus. They get 10%. The pool is the same, but it's pooled together doing that. But let's say I got a salesperson that's a real screw up, pardon my language, but they're not doing what they want to do. They're just kind of hanging out or whatever. I find normally my salespeople, or I see the same thing that can happen in the parts counter. Let's say we got some guy at the parts counter that's not carrying their fair share of the load. I find that that's taken care of more internally in their own department, and I don't have to get involved with it as a manager. They've got somebody not doing it. They kind of move that person out of the dealership themselves. So I find that many times each department is kind of self-policing. If there's a slacker, for the most part, and that slacker's getting the same as they're doing, they ultimately kind of take care of that problem on their own. So that's kind of the cool thing about those bonuses. High performance people won't put up with somebody who's making the same amount of money they are and is underperforming. They will find a way, they will work it through, but that person will either pick up the pace or that person won't be there anymore, and they'll kind of leave on their own, if you know what I mean. So I find that kind of polices itself.
Got it. What is your recommendation for helping employees appreciate the full value, not only of their compensation, but their benefits package and the overall cost of employment?
That's an awesome question, because we every Natalie West, who is our accountant for us, we do employee reviews twice a year, and during that employee review, we share with them their total compensation. So they and I've got great people, so my people really understand everything that we do, and they're aware of it. I mean, we're a small company. We've got 12 employees, so we're not, we don't have 100 people I have to think about. But every 6 months, as those reviews happen, they are made aware of their total compensation, the insurance. We do HSAs for our people, and all the unemployment, Social Security, workers' comp, all the things that we pay in. Natalie then has set up for them so they can see what their total compensation is. It's shocking to most people the first time, because most people are not aware that all the costs that are associated with them just being an employee with it. So that's what we do. If you're not doing employee reviews, I would really encourage you to do that at least once a year. We encourage you to do it twice a year, and because it helps employees. Employees love it. It's not a negative at all. There's no money tied to it, Michael. I know some people, when they do employee reviews, do it as a part of then we're going to determine how much more to pay you. I would encourage you never to tie an employee review toward increased compensation. Has nothing to do with compensation. So that's what I would encourage you to do. If you're not doing that, at least do it once a year. And at that time, Michael, that's when you should roll out everything that they've been paid: bonuses, salary, overtime, unemployment, Social Security, workers' comp, any type of health care benefits and things like this. It's shocking to people. Most people just aren't aware of it. So it changes the scope of things for people. So I think that's what we do.
Do you think is it difficult to make the employees understand that review is not necessarily tied to their compensation? I mean, certainly they're linked to some extent, but I would think oftentimes they're guessing that they go hand in hand with one another. Or
Yeah, I think they do. I think, again, if you do them twice a year, it's a little easier to make it not tied to it. But if you've done employee reviews in the past and then tied it to a raise, it's kind of like when you give the dog the biscuit and they do the same trick again and they expect the biscuit again. So you have to, what I would do again is say, we're going to change how we do this. And I would just say, we're going to do this a new way now. Again, I would encourage you to do twice a year. I think employees really appreciate it. I think you get better employees out of it. But again, and I would just let them know that in the past, we've kind of tied this to bonuses. This year, that's not necessarily do that, because honestly, Michael, if I feel like you're just killing it in the first quarter, even though I hadn't planned on giving you more money, I may at that time to say, look, you are going above and beyond anything I ever expected. I'm not going to wait till the end of the year to give you more money. You're valuable to me. I want to go ahead and give it to you now. So I would get out of the kind of the mentality of saying, well, once a year we do this. If you got somebody that's killing it, that's just going over and above, why make them wait 8 more months and then bless them with a little bit more money? Give it to them then, because then it kind of communicates to everybody else is it's not done once a year, it's done as deserved. And I think it changes the kind of mentality there. So I wouldn't wait to do bonuses or salary increases once a year. I mean, if you're just doing a cost of living thing, then that's fine. But if it's something that's significant, if they're consistently for the last 90 days just hitting it out of the park, why would I want to wait? Why wouldn't I say, wow, this is awesome? I know you don't expect this, but man, I'm going to give you another $2 an hour. And the other thing I would say, Michael, and when I tell people, don't give people quarter bonuses or quarter hourly raises of 50 cents an hour. That's insulting to people. If you're going to give me a raise, give me something that'll actually change my life in some way. So, so I tell people again, giving me a 50-cent hour bonus or a raise per hour, you insult me with that. So be a little bit cautious about that too. Say, well, we move everybody up 50 cents a year. So in 5 years, in 10 years, I'll make an extra $5 an hour. Don't do that to people. Give people, if you're going to give them a raise, and you don't have to give people a raise every year, but if you're going to give them a raise, do something that's going to have some significance for them. That's going to give them the ability to do something a little bit different in their life. So again, I'm all about sharing it. So from a capitalistic standpoint, we're blessed to make money, and I want to share it with people. Don't be afraid to give the wealth out. It will come back.
Right. Now, if I'm one of those dealerships that's in that door prize compensation plan that you referred to early on, do you have any words of wisdom for how to execute moving off that without alienating?
Well, I don't care if I alienate the person that's getting paid $20 an hour that's still doing the same thing they did 10 years ago. So that's not the person I'm worried about. The person I'm worried about is the guy that's been there for 3 years that's killing that I've got some sort of arbitrary hourly rate set up. So no, I would just change it. I would just let people know that, starting this year, there are no more door prizes. So, we're going to create a new compensation program. I'm not going to change your hourly rate. I never, ever, Michael, take money away from people, because that's the easiest way to kill motivation. But I create opportunities in my bonus program so that they can earn more if they produce more. So it's that pay for performance thing. So I wouldn't worry about alienating an average producer. I don't care. I want to be attractive to high producing, high performing people. So it wouldn't bother me at all. I mean, and I've been there before, Michael. I've done the same thing that these dealers have done. That's just how I was brought up. When somebody's been there each year, you give them a raise. And I didn't know any better. I know better now, So I was once blind and now I can see. So that's the thing I would do. I wouldn't worry about the average performing person. I just say, hey, look, we're no longer going to give raises at the end of every year just to give them. We're going to tie them back into performance, and we're going to do job reviews a couple times a year, and so you'll always know what you need to do to get a raise. We lay that out. So I don't make it a surprise on how people can make more money. All of my people know how they can make more money. And it's all performance based, and so there's no secret to it. If my people every one of my people know, if I want to make more money, then all I need to do is this, this, and this. And they work hard toward doing those things. And sure enough, they always make more money, because what happens, Michael, when I have really high performing employees, I need less employees. And right. So I would rather pay the employees I have more because they're producing more than to add another person and then not be able to pay my people well. So I try to minimize my employee count and maximize what they do, and I pay them well for what they do. So.
Okay. All right. Switching gears a little bit to talk about training. This is kind of a two-pronged question. One, do you pay for all training? And two, would you ever consider bringing somebody on and saying, I'll start you at X dollars, $12 an hour or whatever it might be, and once you get certified, your compensation will increase to $14, $15 an hour, or whatever that might be?
Yes and yes. So let's start with the first one. Do I pay for all training? I do pay for all training. So if my people want to go to a community college and take a class on Excel, they do it at night, they do it on their time, but I'm definitely going to pay for the class. And in many cases, I'll give them some sort of bonus. I'll give them some sort of a gift card to go out and have dinner with that night. I want to encourage them to train. We need well-trained people. So yes, I do encourage training, and I'm happy to pay for it. Most of the time they will do it. If they do it, maybe it's just an online thing, or maybe even, Michael, Sarah and Vanessa on our team that do all of our marketing stuff, they do a lot of webinars and things just like this for social media. So they take time during the day and do those things. And many times they'll maybe go out to lunch after that's over. I'll pay for their lunch, and they can go out and debrief each other on it. So I encourage training all the time. And your dealerships, you're coming to that time of year, Michael, where training is going to be an important part of it. So as you get slower, that's when you want to train your people. The other piece again is do you set if you hire somebody new and they maybe don't have the certification or qualifications you need, absolutely. So set it up. So I'm going to start you off with $12 an hour. You need to get this certification through this manufacturer. And once you get that and you get it and you pass at this level, then I'll move you to $15 an hour. So that's absolutely fair. The other thing, though, with training, Michael, is we also, if we're going to send a tech to training that works for us, they have to sign an agreement with us that if they leave us within 2 years, they have to pay that money back. So that, because I see dealers don't do that, and so dealers send some guy to a week's worth of training at the manufacturer. The guy comes back, and then 3 days later he says, "Oh, by the way, I found another job. I'm going to leave," and now you're out a couple of $1,000 airfare, hotels, lost time for a technician, and they leave and take that training someplace else. It's insane to me. We have a form in our toolbox. The dealers, you sign it as a technician or anybody that goes through training. If you leave within 2 years, we prorate the cost of that training out. And if you leave before 2 years, before you get your last check, that will be deducted out of your last check. And if you don't have enough in your last check to do it, and by the way, this is legal to do in every state in the United States and every province in Canada. If you leave before that, you're not enough money, I could take you to small claims court and make you finish paying that back. So we have every technician in the dealerships we consult with, they sign off, they outline what the cost of that's going to be, and when the technician goes to the training, they sign it saying that if they leave within 2 years, that some portion of that, at the end of 2 years, it's all forgiven, but up to that point, it's prorated out over a period of 24 months, and they are required to pay that back if they leave.
Great. Well, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I think that's about all the time we've got for this morning. We certainly appreciate you taking the time to join us today. As I mentioned at the beginning of the program, the presentation and the audio are going to be made available on rurallifestyledealer.com, so you can circle back and review it, but keep an eye on your email for a notification about when that will be available. And also we'll forward out the handouts that Bob had mentioned earlier on. So on behalf of Bob and our staff, as well as the team at Yanmar, thanks very much for joining us. When you leave, there's going to be a short survey to pop up. If you'll please let us know what you thought of the live event, as well as any topics you might like to see covered in the future. We'd certainly love to get your feedback. So thanks again for joining us. And thanks to you, Bob.
Thanks, Michael.